Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome back to the Future Green podcast. For those who don't know me, I'm Heidi Sporrell, and I'm the founder of Future Green. And today we work with businesses to help them accelerate their sustainability through strategy, policy, and tons of great workshops to help teams align around change. So today we're here shining a spotlight on one of our Future Green members for a few years now, and that's Yindii. Yindii is a company on a mission to tackle one of the world's biggest environmental challenges. You probably guessed it, food waste. So joining us today is Mahima Rajangam. I hope I pronounced that right. She's co-founder and chief marketing officer of Yindii, and through their innovative platform, Yindii connects consumers with delicious surplus food from restaurants, from cafés, and from hotels. I want to hear more about hotels because I know there's a great story around the movement towards hotels and buffets, and retailers that would otherwise go to waste. So helping businesses reduce their waste, consumers save money, and of course the planet benefit along the way. So win-win-win there. And in this conversation, we'll explore how Yindii got started, what they've learned from building a food rescue movement across Asia, and why food waste is one of the most powerful climate actions we can all take. Managing food waste is really up there when it comes to our food system. Mahima will also share insights into the challenges and opportunities of changing consumer behavior, scaling a purpose driven business, and creating a future where good food never goes to waste. So, enough from me. I want to kick things off with Mahima just telling us a bit about your story, Mahima, and your journey to becoming co founder and CMO of Yindii.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Heidi. I think you pretty much covered what we do already. But yeah, a little bit about myself. So I'm Mahima. I come from India. I have an engineering and a business background. I wanted to move from doing technical stuff to learning more about strategies and business. And I had the shift. And over the last 10 years, I have worked with leading e-commerce and food tech industries in Southeast Asia. On the side, I've always been a very social impact person. I spend a lot of my time volunteering for leukemia patients back home, being part of typhoon rescue teams when I was living in the Philippines, etc. I think it was around COVID when I was still working for a food tech app-based company here in Bangkok. It was a time when there was like a reflection phase into my life and work, trying to see if I'm doing meaningful stuff. I think that was everybody had that phase during COVID, I assume. And that is when I met my co-founder, Louis. He had already founded Yindii. He was a solo founder, very early stages, and he was looking for someone to work with. And it was perfect for me because Yindii had this amazing technology solution with great climate impact. And I kind of felt I found my missing piece of doing good, coming to work every day. And I think that's, in a nutshell, my journey to Yindii.
That's fantastic. So was just touching on what you've said, is Yindii kind of your side hustle, or do you do it in your like full time as a day job?
This
Because it
was
sounds like
full
you've got
time.
all of this.
Full time. 3 years ago, I met Louis, and then I immediately quit my job, and then I jumped on ship with him.
Oh wow, diving deep into.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we'll hear about how that's working as we go along, but I'm so
Yeah,
glad to hear that you've found a belief in this, that the food waste story has to be dealt with. Like we cannot
yeah.
wait anymore. But in terms of waste itself, because you could have gone in any sort of climate work direction or, purpose-led direction, but why food waste? Like what opened your eyes to food waste? What inspired you to
Um,
take action on this area?
I think initially, like a lot of people, I was not really aware of the magnitude of food waste and its impact on climate change. I think, like a lot of people, I've always known climate change is real, but I was kind of lost where exactly to start taking the action. Maybe you can dive a bit deeper, but food waste today leads to around 10% of our greenhouse gas emissions, and a lot of people don't know it. And it's one of the easiest ways to reduce climate impact as well. So I think the choice was kind of a no-brainer, and there was already an opportunity for me to jump ship. So I was like, okay, why not? Why not take it up?
Yeah, and what good timing, because we're starting to see regulation around food waste, and of course, in this business, it's very helpful to have regulation and policy change on
Exactly.
your side when you're trying to drive these kind of big changes in business and consumer behavior. So could you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges? Because it could not have been smooth sailing, when you're launching these apps and getting people to really take action, not just be aware, but really take action. Like, how did you convince businesses to embrace this idea of selling surplus food? Because, it's kind of like, you have that image of the last aubergine on the shelf in the market, or the last, like, people have these mental issues around the like waste. Oh, it can't be good because it's the last thing on the shelf. And I know you
Yeah,
guys actually sell surplus food, so rather than call it food waste, it's food that is
yeah.
surplus, but it might not necessarily have 10 left on the shelf. It might have one or two. So like, yeah, share some challenges and hurdles you had to overcome to really get
Yeah,
this business going.
yeah. Sure. A little bit, more onto the founding story and what Yindii does before I move into the
Yeah,
challenges.
sure, absolutely. Let's backtrack. We're jumping way ahead.
Okay, so I think during COVID, I think Louis was, volunteering for a food bank here in Thailand. That is when, we were exposed to the magnitude of food waste. And although this food bank was doing an amazing job, they were heavily restricted in terms of resources, in terms of operations and funding, because the amount of food that was left behind the supermarkets, they were only able to divert a small percentage towards the community, and they were always like dependent, for support. So that is when, we started thinking there needs to be a smarter way, a scalable solution to address this problem. And I think in today's world, one of the fastest way to scale is to put an app on phones, people's smartphones, and that's what we thought. We thought we should empower common people like you and me, and present with the solution, and see how this is being taken. And a little bit about what Hindi exactly does. Again, going back to the problem, right? Today, over 30% of the food that we produce globally does not end up on the shelves. This contributes to three major problems. Food retailers around the globe waste over $1 billion every single day because they're not able to find a customer at the right time. And for consumers, it's becoming more and more hard and expensive to access high quality food. In the last 5 years, I think food prices have hit record high. And of course, there's the massive climate impact from food, which is 4 times more polluting than the airline industry. These are the three massive problems that we decided to address. And what we do and how we do is we connect food retailers, hotels, cafes, restaurants, or bakeries, anybody with surplus food. We connect them through a mobile application to consumers like you and me. So the food retailer basically has to pack whatever is a surplus as a surprise bag and sell it at half price, so people get 50% discount to rescue this food. It's a win-win-win model. Merchants reduce their losses and increase their profitability. People are able to save money, and then we are reversing climate change one meal at a time. So when the solution sounds ideal, in reality, we've had our ups and downs. Like a question, how do you convince businesses to take action? Um, I think when we started 5 years ago, we did not have an app. It was a WordPress website that we put, and we walked into the first neighborhood bakery here trying to propose a solution why we actually didn't have any of the means to do that. But it was a very positive reaction. She asked us, where were you guys in the last 2 years? Because food businesses typically lose between 3 to 14% of their revenue on surplus food. Surplus food basically is created on purpose, because if you run a bakery, you don't want to have empty shelves. You want to provide options till the last walk-in customer. So around 10% of the food is produced extra on purpose. And what businesses try to do is they try to kind of get this cost back by increasing the price of the food or trying to give in-store discounts, which eventually kind of hurts them back, because the food suddenly becomes more hard to afford, or it kind of cannibalizes their business. So I think the financial aspect is always clear for food businesses to be part of the solution. but still there is a bit of hesitation because not a lot of brands want people to know that they have excess food. They want to show off that they sell everything because they're highly sought after, or they don't want to provide them with the discounts. But hey, come on, like a discounted revenue is better than no revenue. Right? And then people are not stupid. Anybody that walks into the store towards the end of the day know how much excess food that you have, and there are so many viral videos that are going out on social media showcasing brands that are wasting food. So I think more and more customers, like the stakeholders and government, are expecting brands to be more sustainable, and I think they are kind of forced to take up one of these solutions. And I think it's getting easier. It was not that easy 5 years ago, but with more awareness and the case studies that we have, which are more successful, brands are a bit more open to take up the solution now.
I think just to recap, in case anyone missed that, 50% off something you would normally pay 100% of 100% of, and you can just get it through your app and
Yeah,
pick it up on your way home. That's the
yeah,
way I imagine a user in my mind. So I'm going home on the MTR, on the train, on whatever my journey is. I'm passing this cafe. It's I can get a bag of food for 50% off the normal price, booking it
exactly.
through my app and picking up. That is so convenient. Why would people not want to, especially young people that don't do a lot of cooking at home?
Yeah.
Having this kind of meal ready is just such a good, it's a win-win-win, as you say. So I just really wanted to spotlight that in case anyone missed it. But I think you really touched on an important point, which is this image of surplus food. How do you get people to sort of disconnect it being less valuable because it's discounted
Yeah.
or there's only a few left? Like this mental model that we all have. So we need to shift our mindsets and start to think a bit more broadly about the impact of food if it
And
were to go to waste.
for people, it's the, I mean, if you think about it, if it's the same food that you would get if you walk into your store on your own without the Indie app at say 7 p.m. If the store closes at 7, I mean 8, it's the same food. You go towards the end of the day and you get the surprise back. So there's absolutely no difference in quality. It's that particular day's surplus that you would have received anyway if you were a non-Indie customer walking in towards the last hour. So I think Indie is the consolidated app for the happy hour at the end of all of the stores put into one app.
Yeah, maybe it's a reframing, isn't it? Like at least a happy hour. I love that. I hadn't
Yeah,
thought of that. So going back to my earlier point, I really want to hear about how you're working with hotels because there we have so much waste, especially in the
exactly.
buffets in Hong Kong, in Asia in general. We love our hotel buffets. It's where we go with our family, sit around the table, 10 people having Sunday buffets.
Yeah,
It's such a typical scenario, right? But there is so much waste because of the sheer numbers of people coming in. They always have to keep refilling, and it's high end content food as well. It's seafood, sushi, meat, lots of wonderful plant-based foods as well. But it's a lot of food. So I heard that you started working with some of the hotels. That's
yeah,
incredible. So how
yeah.
does that work?
It's very interesting. So, how we started off with hotels was initially the typical surprise bag model that applies to the rest of the categories, like a bakery. Like you said, there's breakfast buffet that ends at 11 a.m. with over 30% of the food still remaining and super high quality, and then there's lunch buffet and dinner buffet and whatnot. So there's always, and then there's like bakery and high tea section. So there's a lot of points in a hotel where food waste is generated. So we started off with surprise bags. A lot of hotels say around 11 a.m. when the buffet ends, they pack it into a surprise bag and then so you would know what to get. So maybe you'd know, I'd have a juice, I'd have a main dish, and then have a protein and some dessert. So you have like an idea of the surprise bag. And we have another model which we are kind of testing in Hong Kong now, where basically you can walk in towards the last 30 minutes before the buffet ends, and then you get a box in which you can fill it up. So this is not a surprise anymore, but you know what's the quantity limit, and then you go fill it up with whatever you like. So these are the two models that we are currently testing, and I think both of them have their own advantages, and then it works quite well.
So the hotels have overcome this idea that they can't sell the food off. Because I would have thought that's one of the biggest hurdles because they're a little bit, she can't be seen to sell
I think
food.
surprisingly, hotels are not really hard to work because they have really high ESG targets and regulations as
That's
to
very true.
how
Yeah.
much ways that they are supposed to reduce, because we are talking about the international chains and they are highly, they have like really strict targets. So surprisingly, hotels are more open because they have to reach these targets. So I think that the other kind of categories are a bit more. I would think, I would say a supermarket is much more hard to get onto the platform than a hotel.
Wow, that's really good to hear. So there are so many hotels and it's just a growing industry. So I
Yeah.
can see you're going to be inundated with work coming soon. So looking at the kind of big picture, but looking at Asia actually, do you feel that it's a growing market? Do you feel like tackling food waste is something that finally Asia culture is kind of seeing as a norm to tackle food waste this way? What's happening in Asia, do you feel? Because I always felt
Um,
like it was the last frontier, right? We were already doing this in Europe, 20 years
yeah.
ago, and
Yeah.
it's like finally it's hit Asia. That's wonderful. But yeah, what are the challenges in Asia particular, especially around culture? For me, just being from a Chinese Hong Kong family, but growing up, in the UK, my parents and grandparents, they just have their own,
Yeah.
issues around.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. I think Asia is still a bit behind in terms of awareness of the problem itself and the understanding of surplus food. Just because we talk about we're reducing food waste, and when I say this is a surplus food you're supposed to buy, there's nothing wrong about the food. So you're absolutely right. I think in Yindii currently is in four markets: Thailand, Hong Kong, Singapore. And we just soft launched in Korea. I think the food waste problem is common across. It's the same mission. I don't think any country is doing really, well in tackling the food waste. But I think the difference is the level of awareness and existing solutions to this. Like some of the nations are a bit in an advanced stage. For example, if I take Singapore, people are a bit more receptive when we talk about sustainable solutions. Of course, they love the discounts. I would say Hong Kong is still more driven by the discount aspect than the sustainability aspect. And we just
Yeah.
launched in Korea, which is one of the which has recycling as a mandatory thing in the country. So people are really aware of sustainable practices because it's already part of their daily lives. So I think the ease of rescuing food, or tackling food waste, really depends on the mindset of these different markets. However, we cannot just blame on the existing systems and stakeholders. So it is really important for Yindi, to take up the part where we educate people and create the awareness. So we are kind of doing that, I guess.
I really like that you're layering it onto an existing, culturally in Korea, you're saying the recycling is very strong. So you're helping them to kind of layer on another area of sustainability rather than make it a complete disconnected issue. I think that's very smart. Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
fantastic.
when we started India, I think the marketing and the language was around, oh, we should reduce food waste, and then we realized people are not really receptive to that fact. And we have an equally interesting value proposition, which is the 50% discount on food, and we're like, I think we should tell people what they want to hear, because end of the day we are able to reach our mission, whether people come in for the sustainability angle or whether they come in for the discount angle. End of the day we are together rescuing food, and that's what it matters for us. So on one side, while we are trying to increase the awareness, on the other side we are also like leveraging the amazing another half of the value proposition that we have to get people. And once they try Indie, and then they see how amazing it is, because initially there's a bit of hesitation. Once they've tried, they realize, oh my god, this is amazing food, this is something that I would have bought by myself. And within the app we showcase to people how many meals they've saved, what's the money they've saved, and the climate impact, and then they're suddenly proud, because sustainability is like a fancy value add-on for them that they love sharing it to their community and network, and it really works for the benefit of the planet.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but just in case you don't know who we are, I want to welcome you to the Future Green Future Bites podcast. I'm Heidi, and this is where sustainability meets real world action in food. I'm the founder of Future Green, and I'm thrilled you're here. Before we dive into today's guest interview, I wanted to share more about what we do. We're not just consultants, we're change makers, and we partner with communities, local suppliers, and underrepresented groups to co create tangible solutions in food service sustainability. Whether it's designing strategy sprints, so that's our flagship workshops, or auditing supply chains, training teams with actionable tools, our mission is rooted in inclusion, impact, and transformation. And so, in this series of Future Bites, we bring those stories to life. We are sitting down with inspiring leaders from our community, like our past meetup speakers or local chefs, sustainability trainers, and social innovators to unpack their journeys, their challenges, and ideas for a greener food future. So, whether you're looking to source seasonally, reduce food waste, or just bring more equity into the supply chain through reimagining menus, for climate. Each episode promises hope, insight, and practical step forward. So, before we dig into today's conversation further, please explore how Future Green can help you and partner with you in the food service industry so that we can bring sustainability from concept to kitchen. Now, let's get back to our guest interview.
I would say.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And one of the kind of side effects, I suppose, would be willingness to try new foods. You know,
Yeah,
like the
exactly.
big,
A great way to
because
discover.
you might not try it otherwise.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so, because you are an app, I have to ask you a tech question. And because AI is just exploding right now in the last 2 years, do you think, in terms of tech, there will be a role for Yindii? Like, how will you leverage tech to make it easier for customers? Is it something that you're thinking about at the moment? Sort of, maybe even using it to help you grow beyond your current markets?
Definitely, I think tech plays a very important role for Yindii, and of course, we are using AI in our everyday work for a lot of things. But I think technology will now, with the ease of whatever is available, I think will help businesses help. I mean, predict their surplus in advance, and see how they can adjust their production and see how they can find the right customer at the right time. Like I said, surplus does not happen by accident. They do create it on purpose, and then we kind of help them. Okay, now that you've created this on purpose, how do we help you eliminate that surplus? Is some place where technology does play in a role, and Yindi will be moving towards that in the future.
Yeah, I think making it easy for people, like you said, it you just got to make it very simple. It's a simple message, 50% off food. Then people don't have to think, which they don't. We have to make sustainability easy and accessible, don't we? Rather than something that is extra burden. Um, and so let me ask you a question around just being a Future Green member. If you had a message for others who are trying to move in this direction, work towards sustainability and grow their because there are so many great organizations out there, um, whether it's businesses or individuals who want to live or work more in sustainability. Where do you even begin?
Hmm. I think it's kind of a common point for both. I would say start small and stay consistent, because if you have to uproot your entire life and change it overnight to be sustainable, then it can be really overwhelming. So if you're an individual, small things like carrying a reusable bag, or a reusable cutlery, or like rescuing food, these are small actions that you can take that doesn't really change the convenience of your life too much. And because if you take small things, and if you're able to be more consistent in what you're doing, a million people doing small things is much bigger than 1,000 people trying to move mountains. I think the same applies for business as well. Identify one problem area in your operations and start with something small, because eventually it's not going to be perfect from day one, but it's a compound effect. So yeah,
Yes.
small and consistent is the key.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Small baby steps. And you made a really good point. We've also seen in our own data when we deliver our carbon literacy training that it's all about lots of people doing small actions rather than
Yeah.
the few doing mega actions in terms of the compound effect. And so, just to wrap up, then, for those who are listening, what is one thing we can do to reduce food waste if we are new to this space? What would you encourage them to do?
I would say first look at your home what you already have before you order food or even rescue food. Look at your refrigerator, look into your pantry, and try to see what meal you can make out of what you already have. Because I think food waste not comes because people don't care, it often comes because people tend to forget. I think it's a simple action, but it will eventually move us from thinking what can I order today to what can I save today. And if more people ask that question more often, I think we'd all be saving more than just food.
Yeah, exactly. So we should all be just starting with ourselves,
Exactly.
even before
Very
we
simple, yeah.
can. Yeah. So just to summarize, I think my biggest takeaway is you're already working with those big hotels that have to do ESG reporting. So they can absolutely, the big chains can absolutely get in touch with you because you're providing data, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's a win there. And then on the individual level, we need to just start small and take those baby steps. Just open the fridge and take a look. And the third thing I think is download the app, right? I think if you're
Yes,
not on
yes.
it,
Yeah. Again, we say that, we jokingly say the laziest way of saving the planet is through eating at a discount. So there's nothing
I
better than
love
this.
that. The laziest way to save the planet is through eating. I think I'm going to
Yeah.
use that again. So thank you so much, Mahima. This was so much fun chatting with you. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want our audience to hear?
Um, One of the things that recently I met with a customer. I just like wanted to give you an example of one of the stories that personally drive me on a daily basis. So there's this customer in Hong Kong. She makes more than 100 orders or 100 rescues on Yindii every single month, and it's crazy because she rescues more food than I do as a founder. So it's like really curious, and I flew down to Hong Kong and I kind of met her to understand her why of doing things. She was like this super calm, and she's like, why not? And then she opened her app, and because I told you we show the stats of how many meals you save and impact and your monetary savings. She told me, I have saved more than 40,000 Hong Kong dollars in the last 2 years by using Yindi. And she says, that's more than 2 months of my house rent. And she said, thank you very much for making Hong Kong more affordable for me to live. And I was kind of, dumbstruck, and I didn't have much questions more to her. And I was just like standing there with more clarity as to why we're doing what we're doing. So I think stories like this here and there from our merchant partners and our customers kind of make it more meaningful for us to do this every day. I just thought it's a good
That
story
is
to share.
incredible. When you talk about how you measure impact, that is such an impact
I mean,
story.
it's a very Hong Kong thing to kind of see this as a house rent, right? Like, for example, because I also feel like food waste in Hong Kong is a larger problem than an environmental issue, because every morsel of food that's edible that goes to waste is taking up the most valuable resource of Hong Kong, which is landfill. Sorry, like land. So the wasted food is wasted land, which is like wasted opportunity. So I think different. It's very interesting how countries see a very local perspective of how food waste or rescuing that, what it means to them. So yeah, that's a very Hong Kong version of things, I would say.
Oh, that is such an incredible story, and it's what I love about it is it's actually you've put a number against it. It's not just storytelling and feeling good. It's you really actually have a number to share. Twenty
Yeah.
thousand Hong Kong saved, 40,000 Hong Kong
Yeah,
saved
18
over.
years.
That's just incredible. I feel like that's going to be one of our quotes on our blog. That's a really, really great story. And I think you should lead with that story. That's just incredible. What a lovely, yeah, that's such a success story. I think it needs to be shared. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mahima. This was great. And, thank you for taking the time. We love to share stories of what's happening with our members across the region. And this is definitely one we could be proud of. I think this is a third time we've talked about food waste this year, and it just always gets so much traction because it really does kind of push people to do something. As you say, it's just a small thing. Start with food
Yeah.
waste, no matter
Yeah.
how complex you think the climate challenges are. But at least you can start there, and we all eat, and we all
Yeah.
need food. And as you
And
say, it's one of the great, laziest ways to save the planet.
thank you. Thank you very much, Heidi, for the opportunity. It was my pleasure to be here with you today and to share my story. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Happy Friday. Have a great
You too.
weekend.
Bye bye.
Amazing. That was good.